Mark Twain once said that the two most important days in any person's life is the day that they're born and the day that they find out why. Well, music has been a huge part of my why since I received a calling at the age of 8. Since then, music and I have been on a very long journey, including some seasons where God asked of me what he asked of Abraham and Isaac, to lay it all down in full surrender, outcome unknown. Since then, in the last few years, I've begun to write songs, and through time, they've developed in more vulnerability, honesty, and worship. In the fall of 2013, a friend of mine who co-owns a recording studio out of state called me out of the blue, asked if I'd be willing to fly home for a visit and to have a few hours of bartering work with him in the studio. I said yes, and in that time frame, just laid down a couple of my songs that I had recently written just for my own purposes, a simple piano and a vocal take. As I was getting ready to leave the studio that day and our day came to a close, God tapped me on the shoulder and he said, "Those 3 songs that you just laid down are the beginning of your first album. You're to do it here and you're to do it now." Well, I was stunned. I didn't see this coming. I knew it would be expensive. I knew I would have to fly back at home several times to lay this album down in segments. Had no financial planning for this whatsoever. Well, slowly but surely, people started hearing about some of the awesome God stories that God was doing behind the scenes and felt compelled to be part of it. Supernaturally, funding accelerated, and more than I could have ever asked or dreamed for happened. And by the end of 2015, we had laid down so many songs we didn't know what to do with them all. At that time, God dropped the next part of the plan into my spirit. He said, "By the way, this is not just a 1 debut album project, but a 2 album project." And he gave me the names for them. The first album is called Songs from Jacob's Ladder Ascending, and the second one is called Songs from Jacob's Ladder Descending. At the end of 2015, I was super excited, getting ready for the CD release for both of these albums and excited to move forward. But then all of a sudden, it's like a curtain dropped and everything stopped. I felt metaphorically like I was pregnant with these twins that God had given me to birth, but it's like the pregnancy just halted. I was confused. I didn't understand. I was deeply hurt. I didn't know what God was doing. And in that time frame, I didn't know it, but God was getting ready to embark with me on what was a 5-year journey of coming out of pain perspectives, soul traumas, things that had held me bound to lies that I had been in deep agreement with. He asked me to step out of those lies and into truth of his healing love. I heard a pastor once say that to use a man greatly, God has to plow a man deeply, and this was definitely one of my deep plowing seasons. At the end of those 5 years, I asked God one day, I said, "What was that all about?" And he said, "Carlene," he said, "your songs were ready, but because I'm always after your heart was not. I care more about your heart condition than any, quote, ministry value I can get out of you." I think that's profound, and that's kind of God. Miracles take time. He was working his miracle in me. And then suddenly at the beginning of this year in 2020, it's like metaphorically, I suddenly got wheeled into the birthing room. I was coming out of the wilderness, leaning on my beloved. And he said, "It's time for these twins to be born." So this year I've launched my own ministry. It's called DoItAgainMinistries. And I'm asking God to begin to open doors of invitation for the culmination of the things that he's called me to, including worship concerts, music events, speaking engagements, podcasting where I'll get to interview others and hear about their kingdom stories, journeys, and lives, and writing assignments as well. And I have a deep desire to go about this very differently. You see, most musicians have to pound the pavement, and it's all about getting that next gig because that's how they get paid. And even if the motives are right, many times that leads to human striving and effort, professional marketing ploys, and manipulation. And the gospel suddenly changes from something that was free to something that has a price tag on it. As I've launched this ministry, God is moving me into 2 realms of financial support. One is as a musicianary. That's a combination of a musician and a missionary who, just like a regular missionary, raises support so that they don't have to be dependent on a day job that steals their time away from the things that God has called them to do. The other portion is called Love Sent Me. It's a campaign where support will be raised to send me to places so that that community or that church or that event doesn't even have to focus on raising the money to bring me in, but others have paid the way forward so that all they have to do is a 100% focus on receiving. It takes a family of God to do the kingdom of God work, and I'm asking if you'd be willing to join me. It would be my deep privilege to have you pray about this, to see if you'd like to support in one of those financial ways. and that we can go together, because our time is short, to reach people in a dying and a hurting and a broken world with a vibrant joy and healing peace and the love of Abba Father. If you'd like more information, you can go to my website, DoItAgainMinistries.com. Won't it be something to see what he will do, to taste and see the Lord is good? Thank you.